You won't believe what happened the other day at the gas station. Something that started off as a simple errand quickly turned into a nightmare for my wife. Imagine this. She's just filling up the tank, minding her own business, when out of nowhere, a woman storms up, full of anger and accusations. This wasn't just any disagreement. This woman actually called 911 on her, accusing her of something completely ridiculous. But it didn't stop there, as if calling the cops wasn't enough. She then demanded that my wife pay for her gas. Can you believe that? Just because my wife was doing something as normal as filling up her car, this woman lost it. Making the situation so tense and uncomfortable, this story isn't just about a random argument. It's about how one person's prejudice can turn a simple moment into a stressful ordeal. It's about the fear, confusion, and frustration that come with being wrongly targeted. We're going to take you through everything that happened, step by step, the look in that woman's eyes, the shock on my wife's face, and how the whole scene unfolded. It's a raw, real moment that shows how quickly things can spiral out of control when someone acts out of bias. You'll hear the exact words spoken, the reaction from the people around, and the chaos that followed. Was it really necessary to call the police? What did my wife do to deserve this treatment? And how did the gas station staff react? The tension was thick, and the whole thing left us wondering what could have been done differently. Stick around, because this story isn't over yet. There's more to come, and you won't want to miss how this all plays out. Trust me, what happened next will surprise you, and it's a powerful reminder about standing up for what's right. When faced with unfairness, before this whole situation exploded, my wife had just stopped at that gas station after a long day. It was a busy place, nothing out of the ordinary, with people coming and going, filling their tanks, grabbing snacks, or chatting by their cars. My wife pulled up to the pump, put her card in, and started filling up her tank like anyone else. She was focused on getting home, thinking nothing of the small interaction that was about to change everything. That's when the woman appeared. She looked upset from the start, but nobody expected what came next. She started shouting at my wife, accusing her of some kind of wrongdoing, like she had done something illegal or suspicious just by filling her gas. The tension grew as she kept insisting that my wife owed her money for gas, which made no sense at all. It was clear this wasn't about gas. It felt personal, like an attack fueled by something deeper. What shocked me most was how quickly bystanders began to notice. Some pulling out their phones, others just watching, unsure if they should step in. The woman's anger didn't ease up, and she pulled out her phone to call 911 right there in the middle of the gas pumps. You could feel the confusion and disbelief in the air. People were whispering, glancing nervously, and my wife stood there trying to explain herself calmly. But the woman wasn't listening. What made this even more unsettling was how the gas station employees reacted. They didn't say much at first, but you could tell they were uncomfortable. It was like everyone was waiting for the situation to explode or for the police to arrive. No one expected a simple visit to the gas station to turn into a confrontation like this. I'm still trying to wrap my head around why this happened, and what motivated that woman to act the way she did. Was it really just about gas, or was there something else at play? The whole thing left us shaken and with a lot of questions hanging in the air. What happened next? Well, that's the part I'll tell you in the next video, because you won't believe how it all unfolded from there. As the woman's voice grew louder, the gas station felt smaller, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. My wife tried to stay calm, explaining she was just paying for her gas like any other customer, but the woman wasn't having it. She kept accusing her of stealing, even though there was no reason to believe that. What made it worse was the tone she used. It felt more like a personal attack than a simple complaint. Some people stepped closer. Some whispered about calling The police, while others pulled out their phones, recording the scene. I could tell some were uncomfortable, unsure whether to intervene or just watch. The gas station clerk came over, clearly trying to calm things down, but without much success. He said he had no problem with my wife filling her tank, but the angry woman ignored him completely. Then came the call to 911. Hearing those words in that moment felt like the situation had suddenly escalated far beyond a simple disagreement. Why did she think it was necessary to involve the police over gas? Was it really about the gas, or was there something else behind her reaction? The question lingered in everyone's minds, but no one spoke it aloud. The tension was thick, and the feeling that things could go either way hung in the air. Meanwhile, my wife felt the weight of the accusation, not just from the woman, but from the growing crowd watching. It was a mix of fear and frustration, knowing she was being unfairly targeted. I kept wondering about the woman's perspective, to what was going through her mind to make her act so aggressively. Was it a misunderstanding or something deeper that triggered her? As minutes passed and the 911 operator answered, the gas station seemed frozen in time. No one knew what would happen when the police arrived, or if the situation could even be resolved peacefully. Everyone was waiting, watching, and hoping this wouldn't turn into something worse. But the conflict was far from over, and the question remained, what would come next? The sound of sirens in the distance made everyone at the gas station tense up even more. My wife stood by her car, trying to steady her breathing, but the weight of what was happening pressed down hard on her. The angry woman hadn't backed down at all, if anything. Her words got sharper, more demanding. She kept insisting my wife owed her money, even though there was no reason for that. It was like she was determined to make this into a fight. No one could win. The crowd around started to grow. Some people whispering to each other, others filming everything with their phones. It felt like time was moving slower, every second stretching out, waiting for the police to arrive. The gas station clerk looked worried now, glancing between my wife and the woman, clearly hoping this wouldn't get worse. The tension was so thick you could almost touch it. My wife's face showed a mix of frustration and fear. She kept trying to explain calmly, but the woman's accusations seemed to drown her out. It was clear this wasn't just about gas anymore. It was about something bigger, something unfair that had nothing to do with the situation at hand. I could see the hurt in my wife's eyes, the exhaustion from having to stand her ground against a stranger's anger. Then, suddenly, the police car pulled up, lights flashing but no sound yet. Everyone held their breath as two officers stepped out, their expressions serious. The woman pointed at my wife, repeating her claims loudly, while my wife stayed silent, waiting to be heard. The officers started asking questions, but before anyone could say much, the woman made one last demand, raising her voice so everyone could hear. She wanted my wife to pay her for the gas. At that moment, it felt like the whole world had stopped. Everyone was watching, waiting for the police to decide what would happen next. The air was electric with tension, and the question hanging over us all was clear: how would this end? Just when it seemed like the police were about to take control and calm things down, something unexpected happened that flipped the whole situation on its head. One of the officers, after listening to the woman's demands, glanced over at the gas station's security camera monitor. What they saw didn't match the angry woman's story at all. The footage clearly showed my wife paying for her gas without any issues. Every step was recorded, from swiping her card to the pump shutting off when the tank was full. The officer quietly told the woman that the evidence didn't support her claims. And suddenly her confident, aggressive stance started to crumble. But instead of backing down, she doubled down, accusing the officers of being biased and insisting she was the victim. The tension skyrocketed in that moment. People around were shocked. This wasn't just a misunderstanding anymore. It was turning into a battle of who could be believed, and the stakes felt much higher. Meanwhile, my wife, though relieved the truth was coming out, still felt the weight of the accusations. It was exhausting to be caught in the middle of something so unfair, and she wondered how many others had been judged wrongly like this. The crowd was silent but electric with anticipation, sensing the conflict was far from over. Then, another twist. The woman pulled out her phone again, not to call for help this time, but to play a recording, she said, was proof that my wife had said something offensive earlier. This unexpected move shifted the focus and complicated everything further. Suddenly, it wasn't just about gas or payment anymore. It was about words, intentions, and what had really been said. Everyone looked toward my wife, waiting for her response, while the officers exchanged glances caught between trying to keep peace and sorting out what had really happened. The situation was more tangled than anyone expected, and the next moments would decide how it all unfolded. What would come next? The answers were still out there, hanging in the balance, and nobody could predict how this intense conflict would finally be resolved. As the woman played the recording, the crowd leaned in, waiting to hear what she claimed was proof against my wife. But as the words filled the air, something unexpected happened. The tone wasn't what the woman said it was. Instead of something offensive or hostile, it was a snippet of my wife calmly asking a question, trying to clarify a misunderstanding. The calmness in her voice completely contradicted the angry story the woman had been telling all along. The officers listened closely, then exchanged looks that said they had heard enough. They gently told the woman that her accusations were not supported by any of the evidence, neither the security footage nor the recording. It became clear that this had been a case of misunderstanding fueled by false assumptions and unnecessary anger. The woman, realizing she was cornered, finally backed down but left with a stubborn glare. Unwilling to apologize, the officers apologized to my wife for the distress caused and thanked her for staying calm throughout the ordeal. The gas station clerk came over, expressing his regret that the situation had gotten so out of hand over something so simple. The tension that had filled the air slowly began to lift, replaced by a sense of relief among those watching. But just when it seemed like everything was settling, a new voice spoke up from the back of the crowd. A bystander who had been filming the entire incident revealed another twist. He shared that this wasn't the first time the woman had caused a scene at that gas station. Apparently, she had a history of making baseless complaints and creating unnecessary drama. This surprising detail made everyone look at the situation in a different light, showing that sometimes what we see on the surface is just part of a bigger story. My wife and I left that day feeling shaken but stronger, knowing that standing firm and remaining calm made all the difference. This experience was a tough reminder of how quickly every day moments can turn into challenging conflicts, and how important it is to stand up for fairness and truth, even when the odds seem against you. After the crowd slowly dispersed, the gas station returned to its usual rhythm, but the impact of that tense moment stayed with us. My wife and I talked about everything that happened, the unfairness of being judged so quickly, and the importance of staying calm even when faced with anger and false accusations. It was clear that sometimes people let assumptions and biases take over, turning simple situations into something much bigger than they need to be. The gas station staff later reached out to apologize again, assuring us they would review their policies to prevent anything like this from happening in the future. It felt good to know that our experience could help bring positive change, even if it was a small step. We also realized how important it is to support each other when facing difficult moments like this. Having someone by your side can make all the difference. Looking back, this story is a reminder about the power of patience and truth. My wife's calmness and the clear evidence from the security footage helped reveal what was really going on, showing that standing firm and honesty matters. At the same time, The incident shed light on how easily misunderstandings can escalate, especially when emotions run high and people jump to conclusions. If there's one takeaway from this experience, it's to be mindful of how we treat others in everyday situations, especially strangers. Kindness and understanding can prevent unnecessary conflict. And when you're wrongly accused, keeping your composure can protect you. We hope sharing this story encourages others to stay strong in tough times, and remember that not every confrontation has to define the outcome. Thank you for listening and being part of this journey. If you've ever faced something similar or want to share your thoughts, please comment below. Let's keep the conversation going and support each other in standing up for fairness and respect.